Good evening, world. Welcome once again to Intervlog, where we explore the stories shaping Africa and the world. Stories that go beyond the headlines. Stories that reveal the heartbeats of nations. Tonight, we turn our lens toward Cameroon, a Central African nation of 30 million people, where democracy is being tested in the most profound way. The re-election of President Paul Biya, at 93 years old, has sparked protests, petitions, and a moral outcry from figures across the continent, including Nigerian diplomat and activist Timi Frank, who has petitioned the United Nations to launch an immediate investigation into alleged electoral irregularities and the killing of protesters. This is not just a Cameroonian story. It is a story about Africa's struggle with leadership, legitimacy, and the people's voice. It is a reflection of a continent where youthful populations are ruled by aging leaders, where democratic aspirations often clash with entrenched political realities. Cameroon's Constitutional Council recently declared President Paul Biya the winner of the country's presidential election, with 53.7% of the vote against 35.2% for opposition leader Issa Chiroma Bakari. For many, this result was expected, not because of popular support, but because of a political system that has long been tightly controlled. Paul Biya, in power since 1982, is now entering his 8th term as head of state. That's 43 years of continuous rule, an extraordinary record that has made him the world's oldest leader and one of the longest-serving presidents in history. But while Biya has ruled from Yaoundé and often from abroad, Cameroon's people have changed. The median age in the country is just 19 years old. Most Cameroonians have known no other leader. As results were announced, protests erupted in Douala, Garoua, and parts of Yaoundé. Security forces were deployed, shops closed, armored vehicles rolled into the streets, and once again the cry for democracy was met with silence and fear. From Abuja, Nigeria, a voice rose in protest, that of Timi Frank, a former APC Deputy National Publicity Secretary and now a diplomat representing the United Liberation Movement for West Papua. In a powerful statement, Timi Frank described Paul Biya's re-election as an insult to democracy and a disgrace to Africa's conscience. He went further, calling the election a mockery of democracy and a brazen subversion of the people's will. According to Frank, the so-called results announced by the regime are a fabrication and a clear subversion of the people's will. He lamented what he called the daylight robbery of votes, condemning the brutal crackdown on peaceful protesters. Innocent Cameroonians are being by their own security forces simply for demanding that their votes count, he said. Timi Frank's statement did not stop at criticism. He issued a petition to the United Nations, urging the global body to launch an investigation into both the electoral irregularities and the killing of protesters. He called on the International Criminal Court, ICC, to take up the matter, and he condemned what he described as the African Union's shameful silence. The AU's silence in the face of such blatant robbery is a betrayal of its founding principles, he said. By refusing to speak out or act, the AU is enabling tyranny and helping destroy democracy on the continent. He warned that such silence fuels coups and instability across Africa, because when people are denied peaceful paths to change, they turn to desperation. This message resonates beyond Cameroon. It is a message for a continent that has witnessed coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Guinea, and where young populations demand change but face old systems that resist it. As protests unfolded, reports emerged of at least 4 deaths and dozens of arrests. In the commercial capital, Douala, security forces used tear gas and live ammunition to disperse demonstrators. In Yaoundé, armored vehicles patrolled intersections, and most citizens declined to speak publicly, fearful of repercussions in a country known for tight government control. Meanwhile, Paul Biya made no public appearance following his declared victory, issuing only a brief written statement. The contrast was striking, a silent leader presiding over a noisy crisis. Opposition figures claimed they had won. Independent counts suggested Issa Chiroma Bakari, a 79-year-old former minister, was leading the vote before the results were announced. Chiroma, once a spokesperson for Biya's government, left earlier this year to run as an opposition candidate. He gained traction among young voters hungry for change, but also skepticism from those who saw him as part of the old order. Number 2. When he declared himself the winner, snipers were reportedly spotted near his home, allegations that could not be independently verified, but which reflected a growing atmosphere of fear. Cameroon's crisis fits into a broader pattern seen across parts of Africa. It is a pattern of aging rulers, managed elections, silenced opposition, and institutional decay. The continent, with a median age of just 19, is ruled by some of the world's oldest leaders. Many of these leaders came to power when the Cold War still defined global politics, and yet they continue to shape the destinies of populations who live in a digital age. In the words of one Cameroonian activist, "We are a young nation trapped in an old system." And that sentiment echoes far beyond Cameroon. Timi Frank's appeal was not only about Cameroon, it was about the soul of Africa. He urged the United States, the European Union, and the United Nations to impose targeted sanctions against Biya's regime, including travel bans and asset freezes. He called for the suspension of military assistance and demanded accountability for what he described as blood-stained power. The international community must make it clear that those who rig elections, kill citizens, and destroy democratic institutions will pay a heavy price, he said. Anything less would embolden other dictators across Africa to repeat this travesty. He insisted that the true winner of the Cameroonian election remains Issa Chiroma Bakari, and that the international community should recognize this fact. At Intervlog, we often turn to African wisdom, to parables that reveal deeper truths. As the saying goes in French, "Quand le tambour parle trop fort, il finit par se déchirer." When the drum beats too loudly, it eventually tears itself apart. This parable reminds us that power without restraint destroys itself. A regime that silences its people may survive for a time, but it cannot endure forever. Another proverb says, "On ne cache pas le soleil avec la main." You cannot hide the sun with your hand. No matter how tightly one tries to control truth, the light of the people's will always finds a way through. And finally, le mensonge peut courir un an, mais la vérité le rattrape en un jour. A lie may run for a year, but truth catches it in a single day. These are not merely words. They are the moral compass of Africa's conscience. They remind us that leadership must be accountable, transparent, and just. Many observers have criticized the African Union's muted response to Cameroon's election. While the AU has mechanisms for election observation and conflict resolution, it often stops short of direct condemnation. Timi Frank's statement underscored this failure. By refusing to speak out or act, the AU is enabling tyranny. The silence of African institutions, he argued, is what fuels instability, because when peaceful change is blocked, violent change becomes inevitable. From Sudan to Gabon, from Guinea to Niger, this pattern has become all too familiar. It is a vicious cycle. Electoral injustice breeds frustration, frustration breeds revolt, and revolt invites repression. The events in Cameroon also carry regional implications. The Central African sub-region, already fragile, faces multiple security and governance challenges. Cameroon is battling Boko Haram insurgents in the north, separatists in the Anglophone west, and corruption in nearly every public sector. Instability in Cameroon could spill into neighboring countries, Nigeria, Chad, and the Central African Republic, further destabilizing an already volatile region. As Intervlog observes, Africa's crises are never isolated. When one nation trembles, its neighbors feel the tremor. When one government suppresses democracy, it weakens the credibility of all. Paul Biya's longevity in power raises profound questions about leadership, legitimacy, and legacy. Can a man who has ruled for over 4 decades still claim to represent the aspirations of a generation born long after he first took office? Can democracy survive when institutions are built around individuals instead of principles? Even some of Biya's former allies now question the sustainability of his rule. Issa Chiroma Bakari, once his minister and spokesperson, turned challenger, saying, The people of Cameroon have spoken, but their voices have been stolen. Biya's defenders argue that he has maintained stability, steering the country through wars, economic reforms, and regional crises. His critics counter that stability built on fear and manipulation is not true peace. It is a silence of resignation. Cameroon's youth, like much of Africa's, are impatient for change. They live in a connected world, where information moves fast and injustice cannot easily hide. For them, democracy is not just a word, it is a demand for dignity. They see leaders in their 90s still clinging to power and wonder, is Africa ready to pass the torch? As one young protester told a reporter, "We respect our elders, but we want our future back." That sentiment captures a generational truth. Africa's youth are not rebelling against age. They are rebelling against stagnation. The Cameroonian crisis offers a mirror for the continent. It reveals how fragile democracy becomes when institutions are hollowed out. It shows that elections without credibility breed more instability than peace. From Harare to Yaoundé, from Conakry to Libreville, the story repeats itself. Leaders stay too long, constitutions are amended, opponents are silenced, and the people's patience is tested. Yet in every corner of the continent, there is also hope. Voices like Timi Frank, movements led by young Africans, and a growing awareness that the future cannot wait. Timi Frank's final words were both a warning and a plea. If the world fails to act decisively now, it will set a dangerous precedent. One that tells African leaders that rigging elections, silencing opponents, come without consequence. The time to act is now. The world must stand with the people of Cameroon and make it clear that stolen elections and blood-stained power have no place in the 21st century. These are strong words, yet they echo the silent prayers of many across Africa who ask for one simple thing: justice. Before we close, Intervlog leaves you with one final parable. L'arbre qui refuse de plier finira par se briser. The tree that refuses to bend will eventually break. Power, like a tree, must sometimes bend to the wind of the people's will. When it refuses, it risks falling altogether. Tonight, as Cameroon stands at a crossroads, the continent watches, and the world listens. This is not just about one election. It is about the soul of African democracy, the test of leadership, and the courage of ordinary citizens who continue to hope, to vote, and to speak out even when the cost is high. As Intervlog, we remain committed to telling these stories with balance, with integrity, and with respect for truth. Because in the words of another old African proverb, "Quand la vérité se lève, le mensonge s'enfuit." When truth rises, falsehood runs away. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog, same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.